Welcome to Getting Started Part 2. This is for grades pre-K through second grade. If you work with students in that grade level, any age in that grade level, welcome, welcome. And I'm Angela. I've taught kindergarten for 15 years. I lead the community team here at Seesaw, really supporting teachers all over the world as they get started and stay engaged with Seesaw. Please give me a shout out. Tweet me at Mrs. Gadke. I'd love to see how you are doing in your classroom and connect with you there. I also want to let you know, if you're watching this recording, you can get a certificate for viewing this session. We just ask that you listen to the code that we give during the session, and then you'll fill out the form that is linked in the description or the follow-up email that you received. So this is something new that we're starting just last week, August 13th and beyond. So we are excited to offer that as a way to really show your dedication to continuing your own professional development. And as a reminder, you are here because you have already attended or watched Getting Started with Seesaw, and you've created your teacher account and potentially your first class. So if you haven't done either of those things yet, you might want to just revisit that, but you're welcome to, of course, continue learning with us here today. So in today's session, we are going to focus on getting started with students, a little bit more about connecting families. We will peek at Seesaw's activity library and then spend a lot of time answering your questions for those that are live here today. I also just want to point out there is a link on this slide to get the slides from today if you are viewing this via a recording, so you're welcome to those as well. So as we start off, let's focus on how to start with students. Seesaw is really a platform that we have created and built to be easy for any student to use. So we really want to support you in doing that with your students in your own classroom. So the first thing you're going to need to do before students even use it, of course, is make sure they are added to your class. On this slide right here, you will see a printable that shows you the steps for doing this. I know we have lots of different learning styles out there, and if you're someone that just wants to print it out and follow those steps, that is great. I'm also going to show the steps in just a moment, and I am going to do that. Let's just do that right now. So I'm going to hop into a Seesaw class that I have created. It is intentionally created to be maybe at a spot that you are at right now. You'll notice I'm Mrs. New Teacher. This is a second grade class that I've just created. I am brand new to Seesaw. I have created my account. I have my first class, but I need to add my students. So in the bottom right, I'm just going to tap plus students. Then I'm going to be asked, do I want my students to sign in using Google or email accounts? In this case, I'm going to say no. And I'm going to choose shared devices. And then I'm just going to go ahead and start listing my student names, okay? So this is something that you can do by typing one by one or paste your list of student names, which brings you here, and you can just slap them right on in there from a class list you have, which is amazing. What I'm going to do right now actually is I am going to tap that green check. I have students in there. I have more than 6 students. And check this out. This is just a reminder of how your students are going to get into Seesaw with this class code setup. I also want to point out the print the student sign-in poster. That button is right here. You will need that. So I'm just going to exit out right here. I want to show you another little trick to be aware of. Do you see right now all of my student name icons are just their initials? I'm going to go in the upper left and just refresh my screen, because that is going to bring you, whoa, I was going to say that's going to bring you to just having the little animal emojis, but I see there's a little bug happening right now where that's not working, so I'll have to let our team know. But that's how you would normally get that to appear. But your students are there, they're ready. So while we're here, as I was just trying to show you the icons that could happen, if I went into students right here, and if I went to add students, I could also tap on a student name and go to icon, and I could select any other icon that I want as well. So that's kind of how you get there if that question comes up. Now, I'm going to just stick with showing you how to add students to a class code class, because I think that's the majority of those watching right here today at the pre-K through second grade level. You'll be using that. Now, of course, if you are one-to-one Chromebooks, for example, in your classroom, you would probably want to use email or Google sign-in, and then you don't add your student names. But tapping that plus student button will actually walk you through that flow. The second thing I want to make sure you have ready is that your students can actually access Seesaw. So if you are using the class code sign-in method, print this out if you want to see the steps again for how do you get that class code sign-in poster. Make sure you hang that up in your classroom so it's ready to roll. And the next thing I want to spend a larger chunk of time on are our getting started guides. Now, these are available right here if you follow this link, or you can, of course, once you get the slides, you'll see it as well, but I'm going to click on the link. This is taking us directly into our Seesaw Help Center, and you can choose the getting started guide that matches your grade level. I'm going to choose first grade. They're pretty similar at the pre-K through second grade level, I would say. Preschool is a little bit different, but when I start exploring this and looking here, we have a page that just shows included in this guide. You'll notice, for example, if you don't want to print this whole thing, you could say, ooh, I just want to print the student challenges, page 6 through 9, so you can do that. It's just here a little quick graphic about what is Seesaw, how does it work. We also have this handy page if you want to, again, compare the student view and teacher view. And then teacher checklist. This is really handy for those of you that are brand new. You want to make sure you kind of have these main components set up. So you've created your account, your class, you've added students. Now we're down to step 4, which is creating a post. And guess what? You've probably already done this if you've come to getting started with Seesaw already. You want to make sure you have your student devices ready, meaning they have the Seesaw app on them. If you are using anything other than a computer, hang up that QR code poster, and then you are going to get into the meat of this getting started guide, which are the student challenge lessons. So what this is a series of mini lessons that you can do with your students. We have noted what we believe is the approximate time for each one. You might choose to do one at a time. You might choose to do two in a day. I don't know, whatever works for your class. But let's quickly peek at what these look like. So lesson 1, we always start with purpose, right? So what is the purpose of keeping a journal? You are going to be using Seesaw, but it's helpful for them to see examples of real journals and what they're used for, or portfolios. It's important in lesson 2 to start building the routine of using technology in your classroom. Where are you having the devices? Where are they stored? How do you handle them? We talk about the 2-hand rule when carrying devices. Again, we're practicing with students. And then lesson 3, we are talking about signing in and signing out. So as you know, it is so easy for students to do this, but we like to remind you, we're taking baby steps, right? We don't want to say, let's do Seesaw. We're going to do 25 things right now. Just like you're teaching any routine in your classroom, let's make sure we're doing this as well. So in lesson 4, we're talking about the green add button. We know that's where all the magic starts. And then lesson 5, we are taking a photo. And I always started with my kindergartners having a photo of themselves in their journal. I felt that really lent itself well to their ownership, that this is their journal. Lesson 6, you start exploring photo with voice, and you start to talk about recording spots in your classroom. And again, all these mini lessons are pretty step-by-step for you, as you can see here. Lesson 7, they're adding a writing sample. They're taking a photo, recording their voice. Lesson 8, they start to explore the drawing tool. We give the suggestion of them writing their name. Maybe they're then recording their voice, reading their name, or pointing to the letters, or saying the favorite color. Lesson 9, they're reflecting on math work. As you can see, or maybe you've noticed, these lessons are really general. We give you an idea to try that could be used in any math lesson, in any writing lesson. Then in lesson 10, we talk about wow work. So this is something that your students will start to get really, really excited when they are adding work to Seesaw. We kind of want to pause for a moment and make sure they're being thoughtful about what is going into Seesaw. So we have a lesson about wow work, and then lesson 11 is about connecting families and getting those family either paper invitations sent home with the student at that time. And then that's the student challenge. We also have this page for you about the activity library, and we have next steps. So you can celebrate with badges or certificates for your students once they complete the challenge. We remind you to come to webinars, and of course have all of our community connections listed here as well. And then at the end, you're going to find all of these awesome printables right here for you. And you'll notice these task cards are intended for students to refer to and use. So think about even hanging this up at a station if you want to kind of have that posted as well. But this is all here for you so you can get it in one place. So I'm going to go back into the slides. We have a lot more to talk about. Let's talk about connecting families. So the first thing you want to make sure before you invite anyone to your Seesaw class that something is in your Seesaw class, that there's a post there. So if you do the student challenge with your students, of course their work is going to be posted. Some teachers, however, really take advantage of open house or back to school night to connect families before their students even start. So if you choose to do that, these are 2 ideas for how you could post to your class. So something is waiting for not only your students to see when they sign into Seesaw for the first time, but more importantly, for the connection piece of families, that they see something so they start to understand the flow of Seesaw. The key here, you'll see all the steps. Again, these are just quick ideas, but the key step in number 4 listed here, whoa, sorry, went a little ahead of myself there. In number 4 is you need to make sure that you tag all students when you are posting that work so that it is attached to each student's portfolio. So again, these are 2 printables that you can look at to follow these instructions to give it a try on your own. And of course, I want to let you know about this website, web.seesaw.me/families, because this is not filled, I mean, it is the place to go if you are having a presentation in front of families. All the stuff you need is in one spot. So I'm actually going to go to this site really quickly. This is intended to, you could project this on a smartboard if you want. You could share the link to the site with families. The first thing you'll see here is an introduction video to Seesaw for families. It also talks a little bit more about what Seesaw is here, how the flow works, and then it gives them a chance to sign up right then and there to get the family app, or of course, go to a computer and website to sign up. And then this video, the second video, is actually a tour of the family app, which is kind of nice as well for families to see. It also goes through on the very bottom here, one of our most common questions that we get at the beginning of the year from families is related to, how do I add a new student journal? Because there are families that you will encounter that are already using Seesaw or have in the past. So they already have a Seesaw account. They don't need to create a new account. They need to just add their student's new journal. So there are directions there. Now, if we continue on here, this resource is going to remind you how to invite families. Again, this printable just shows you the step-by-step instructions for doing that. I'm actually going to show you really quickly in our class. So when I'm ready to invite families, I'm just going to tap the plus of families button in the bottom right. And then I'm going to turn on family access. Now, as a reminder, this doesn't just like open up Seesaw to the world or even families at this time. It's just turning on the ability for you to actually invite them. So at this point, you can print paper invites. They are available in all of these languages if you need various languages, or you can view a sample email and email your families. Now, coming very soon is going to be the ability for you to invite individual family members with an email. So be looking for that in Seesaw coming very soon. Okay. The next thing I want to visit just quickly is the Seesaw Activity Library. Now, this might be something that you jump into and explore after you've done the Getting Started guide, after you've done all of those, those mini lessons with your students, and maybe you have 5 student posts in your class or whatever, right? This could be the next step for you to explore. Now, how does activities work? So in this flow, teachers share activities with students. Students respond using Seesaw's creative tools. And then teachers approve those responses. So when you are signed into Seesaw as a teacher, you will actually, I'm gonna go into our live class. I have it on the slides here, but I wanna give you the latest version of what it looks like. When I tap the green add button as a teacher, I can go to assign activity. And when I do that, it's going to bring me into my library tab. This is basically your own stuff. This is where you're going to gather your own activities. Now, right now it looks pretty blank because I'm brand new. I just have a new teacher account. What do I do? So if you need ideas, you can actually click right here to browse the community library. And this is where you're going to find thousands of activities that are already created by Seesaw ambassadors. These are teachers that have already been using Seesaw in their classroom, and they are sharing their ideas and inspiration with you. So as you notice here, I'm getting prompted to click on this collection is what it's called, Getting Started with Seesaw. This class is set to 2nd grade, but we have these for each grade level. So a great place to start is just by clicking here, because you are going to then be brought into 5 activities that are just right for getting started with your students. So you might say, oh, we're going to do this activity. So I'm going to click on it. I can see an example image, I can see the teacher notes down here, and I can look at the instructions as well. If I like this activity and want to save it, I'm just going to tap the heart. That saves it to my library, and we'll see that in a second. Okay, if I want to assign this to my students and share this with them, I'm going to click Assign. Now, I would not recommend doing this unless your students, you're going to use it right then and there. I actually had met a kindergarten teacher a few weeks ago that found activities, that were so great, and she just kept sending them to her students, right away. And then maybe she didn't talk about them at all in class, and then there were just tons of things waiting there. So I'm going to choose to share it with, of course, the class that I'm in right now. I can say assign to one class, and then I'm going to click into the class just so I can kind of see it from the student view. So now you'll notice when I'm in the Seesaw class, I am on the activity tab rather than the journal tab where we have been focused, okay? So now as a student, let's try adding a response as a student, which is what Seesaw is telling you to try, right? Don't worry, we're not going to break anything. So I'm going to tap add response to this activity. I'm going to choose sample student because that's me, I'm playing around. Just a neat feature, students can always click up here to view the instructions again, but then they can just go into the creative tools. I'm just going to play around here, of course. Let's pick the heart. We're going to keep it really simple. Green check, here we go. It is added to Seesaw, and it will be coming to teacher for approval. Now, because I'm a teacher and I was just playing and practicing, I didn't have to approve anything because that would be slightly annoying, right? If you had to approve your own work as a teacher. But rest assured, when your students do that and they respond to an activity, their response is going to show up for you to approve right here in the journal view, okay? So students can, of course, always add from this green add button right here. And after you've done the getting started guide and your students really understand that really quick and easy flow, you might explore activities and sharing activities with them. So keep that in mind. I'm going to skip a couple slides because I just showed you that in our demonstration. And I want to let you know that we are about to head into questions. So before I do that, I'm just going to quickly recap, okay? So, and actually, I'm also going to give the first 3 digits of the code. Wow, I really waited for that, didn't I? The first 3 digits of the code you'll need are 114, and the remaining digits are 256. So that's the 6-character code you will need to get a certificate if you are viewing this session. Before we go into questions here live, I just want to remind you about a couple things. Our Seesaw Help Center is your go-to place if you have questions or need support at help.seesaw.me. Make sure you go there and visit frequently. We have lots of things ready for you. And of course, don't miss out on connecting with our community. We have several various places where teachers are just sharing ideas all of the time. And we'd love to have you back for more PD in your PJs. Our schedule is always listed at web.seesaw.me/PDS. So I'm going to scoot back here and we are going to start into live questions for those that are attending right now.